learning about Siman, what is it, Simonian? What's the word, Sherry?
I'm not sure what you mean. Spell it.
Well, here we're making a Rosh Hashanah Seder.
Uh-huh.
So you're Simam, there's a Hebrew word, and it's certain foods that you then associate with the new year.
Spell it.
What? I don't know. They don't have it on here. I remember S-I-M, Simanim.
Oh,
I
Simanim.
don't know.
Simanim.
Symbols.
Yeah, like, yeah, signs, symbols, yeah.
Signs, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I'm looking for new stuff.
All right, everybody, we're ready to
You're
start.
good.
Welcome to making apple kugel.
Bored.
If you need the recipe, it's very simple, and we'll post it. But all you need are some kind of egg noodles. I like extra wide. You need a 1/4 cup of melted margarine, unless you don't care if it's not parve, and then you can use butter. You need 4 eggs. You need 3 medium apples. I got 3 kinds of apples at the store, so you can choose which apples you want. I sometimes throw 1 green apple in just to change up the taste a little bit. And then if you like raisins or anything else in your kugel, you can just throw it in. It's very easy. Salt, sugar, cinnamon, and vanilla. So that's all you need. It's very, very simple ingredients, which is why I like this recipe. It goes nicely on the side of brisket or a turkey or a chicken or whatever you're making. So first things first, fill a pot with water. Very simple. So that you can pre-boil your noodles. So I'm gonna fill this one up. I'm gonna turn my stove top on and just put it on high so I can pre-boil up my water. So everybody can do that right now. And if you haven't already done so, you can take out the rest of the ingredients. So vanilla, cinnamon, margarine, salt. I had to go steal my salt back from my daughter because she ran out. And all right, so I'm a cover your pot kind of person because I'm impatient and I want it to boil faster. So once you get your pot of water on, hopefully everybody is right with me on that. And we sometimes buy the very large bags of noodles, but the recipe calls for 8 ounce. I usually do the 12 ounce bag because it just makes a little bit more. Okay. Next thing you want to do is take out some kind of container that you're going to put the kugel into. So if you are only going to be a few people and you'd rather cook it in a few smaller containers, you can do that. I'm going to cook it in one larger container. And you can also cook it in a larger container and then you can freeze it at the end. So give me a second to get my larger container. Sorry for the racket. Okay. So something like this is perfect, but it could be a throwaway aluminum tin, anything works. I happen to be a big fan of spraying Pam at the bottom because I like things not to stick. So spray a little Pam and then your container is ready to go and you don't have to worry about it. Okay. So of course, the most tedious part of this recipe is just managing the apples. So, and you know, a kugel is not baking, so there's a lot of flexibility about what you put in there. You want to make sure you have some liquid, and you want to make sure you have some noodles, and the egg and the butter are the liquid, the noodles, and you want the apples. But you know, if you decide to put 6 apples, you want to do a little more noodles, you want to add more than raisins, maybe you want to do regular raisins, yellow raisins, and something else. There's a lot of flexibility with a kugel. That's part of the pleasure of making a kugel. So the first thing that I'm going to do is prep my apples. So I'm going to do, the recipe calls for 3. I tend to do 4. I like mine with a little more apple. And I'm going to use 1 Granny Smith green apple. And I'm going to use 2 of the Fuji apples. And I'm going to do 1 of the Gala apples. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to peel our apples. So, like I said, this is what takes the most amount of time. By the way, some people like to use other fruits in addition to apples, so you definitely can. You could even put pomegranate seeds in your kugel if you like, because the theme of pomegranates that goes with the holiday for Rosh Hashanah. So we're peeling our apples. I did not pre-do anything for this recipe, partially because I'm a rabbi and it's less than 2 weeks before Rosh Hashanah, and partially because it's just a really simple recipe, so we didn't really need to pre-prep anything. All right, so do your peeling. I'm a peel over the sink kind of person, however you choose to peel. I found this peeler, by the way, I really, really like it. It never cuts my fingers, so I highly recommend. Have no idea what brand it is. It's not like a branding. If anybody has questions, just holler out. But like I said, this is really very, very simple. Make sure that your pot is covered and on high so that it will boil, and it just needs to have enough water so that it will take the 1 bag of pasta, which isn't a ton of pasta. All right.
Rabbi, you just went off video.
I went off video?
Yeah, it's the Macomb logo that we see.
No, that's the other. Oh, hold on.
There you go. Thank you.
Thank you. Back. Okay, so strange. Let me know if that happens again.
Yep.
And all right. So I bought a lot of extra apples because obviously for Rosh Hashanah we want to have apples and honey, and usually I make some kind of other apple dish, maybe an apple applesauce or an apple pie, or you could do a honey dish like a honey cake. I know Sharon just said she was looking at different recipes to make. There's really great Sephardic recipes with apples that you can make, not just on Passover, but for Rosh Hashanah as well. Oops. And so there's a lot of good stuff to make. I know this year, most of us are going to be very small in who's going to be eating our food, just because we're living in a pandemic. But again, most of the items you can make smaller quantity or just make the regular amount and you can freeze. So the kugel is a great example of that. It's not going to get dry or anything like that. And you can undercook the kugel a little bit. We'll talk about that when we get to the cooking part. But you can undercook it a little bit because if you know you're going to want to reheat it and recook it, that's what I'm going to do. I'm making it today. And then I will put it in the freezer, take it out the day before, and it'll be ready to go. While I'm still peeling, I can just keep talking. So there's lots of great recipes for Rosh Hashanah. I'll share some of my favorites, and if anybody wants to chime in. So some of my favorites are for sure the Susie fish fine, the tricolor gefilte fish. It's a huge hit. Again, I know it's a pretty big dish if you're just 1 or 2 people, but it is a dish that stays for a couple of days. So you can make the tricolor gefilte fish. You can buy the salmon in the freezer, the salmon gefilte fish and the regular gefilte fish. Okay, we'll come back to favorite dishes in a minute. So the way I like to do the apple is slices. So you want to maintain your apple consistency. You want there to be a nice flavor of apple. So I tend to just slice them kind of like this. You could go a little bit thinner if you want like this, but you want to have slices in there. You don't want it to be chopped, and you don't want, at least I don't, maybe you prefer chopped, but I liked the slices. So, so I'm gonna cut up my apples right now. Now, it doesn't really matter if they brown a little bit because we're gonna bake them, but if you're somebody who really doesn't like the idea of brown apples, then just have a little lemon juice ready to go to put on top of it once you've sliced them. But like I said, it doesn't really bother me, and I know that it's fine for the Kugel. So I'm just slicing my apples right now. And all right, back to good Rosh Hashanah recipes while we're slicing, because we've got a few apples to slice. So everybody knows one of my favorite, of course, is matzo ball soup. Basic chicken soup, matzo balls. There's a YouTube video on our Macomb and White YouTube page if you need to be reminded how to make chicken soup very simply. And matzo balls, usually the matzo ball mixes are on sale at the grocery store this time of year, if you're one who likes to do the mixes. And another favorite in my house, of course, is challah. We're gonna do challah making next week. And brisket. That I actually looked today to see if the brisket was on sale yet, because it usually goes on sale right before the holiday, but it wasn't on sale yet, so I didn't buy it yet. But I tend to make a very simple brisket. We've done that before as well. I think there's a YouTube video for that as well. Just a piece of brisket, some Russian or red salad dressing, and some onion soup mix. Really, really simple. How's everybody doing? Are we cutting our apples? We're good. Sherry, what's it look like out there?
Yes, I'm sitting here cutting my apples, Rabbi. Yes, thank you.
Okay, and is everybody else cutting their apples? We're good?
Yes.
I'm sure that they are all cutting their
Because
apples.
I can't see you guys because I couldn't figure out, oh, you know what?
Rabbi, I'm the only one who's following you and doing it.
I'm doing it as well,
Oh, you are? Oh,
Yes,
is
we are.
Jeff doing the work?
of course.
Let me see. Jeff, hold up your apples.
I'm cutting apples.
Let's see. Let's see. You know what I'm going to do actually? I'm going to put my computer so that I can see you guys. Here we go. Now I can see you guys. Okay. All right. Jeff, you're cooking away there. So impressive. So I don't know about anybody else, but my water has already boiled. So once your water boils, my stove tends to boil pretty quickly. So I'm going to speak a little louder. Can you still hear me? Because my fan went on.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So I'm going to put my noodles in. And I tend to follow what it says on the bag. So my bag says 7 to 9 minutes. So I'm going to go for the 7 because we don't need to do the extra. It's going to go in the oven. Preheat your oven, by the way, to 350 if you haven't done that already. And set your timer. I'm a big believer in timers. We have many throughout our house, as you might imagine, living with a baker. Okay. So, there we go. If you didn't add salt yet, add a little bit of salt.
No salt.
Okay. Finish your apple slicing. So back to apple recipes. One of the things Sophie's making this year are apple butter cupcakes. They're really delicious, and I highly recommend them. We can post some of these recipes up later, but there's a lot of delicious stuff to be made for the holidays. And you know, sometimes holiday meals are just a meal that you don't eat every day. So I don't know about anybody else, but we feel like we've been eating the same 4 things every week during this pandemic. So just to make something that you haven't eaten in a while. I had been making brisket at the beginning of the pandemic because I had it. So I stopped now so that it'll be special for the holiday. So we haven't had brisket in a while, so it'll taste good when we have it for the holiday. Anybody have other good things they want to throw in, other good recipes you like?
So mine, it's not a recipe, it's just something I've done for years and years, and it's a nice side dish on Rosh Hashanah. And it's just taking apples and sauteing them in margarine. I do it parve, with cinnamon, and serving it warm. So it's a really nice warm sort of a compote kind of thing that goes really nicely with turkey and chicken.
Nice.
Did I ever show you the family cookbook that I made?
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
You should definitely share.
See,
I love that, Sharon.
we had like a holiday. Yeah, most of the holiday stuff was Passover.
I know,
except
that's
for-
always the case, right? But you know what's funny? There's no reason we couldn't make some of those Passover recipes.
Oh,
like
yeah.
hummus, you know.
We do, but for some reason, we just call it the Passover part.
I know, us too, right? So,
My mom's brisket was always with cranberries and the onion soup mix. And
Oh, yeah?
I would add a crushed pineapple to it. But now I can't have all the salt that's in the onion soup mix.
so you kind of
So
got
I
to create
use-
your own, yeah.
Yeah, I use minced onion and garlic.
I hear you.
Comes out just as good.
Beautiful. All right, so while your noodles are cooking, everybody, whoever's, I can't even see, whoever's cooking along with us, there we go. So whoever's cooking along with us, your apples should be cut. Your noodles are in the pot getting going. You should have your sugar out. You're gonna need a 1/4 cup measuring if you're a measurer. Not everybody is. So our sugar container lives with a 1/2 cup in it because that's what we use for challah every week. So I just go based on a 1/2 cup. Half of that, a little more than that, whatever it is. And then you need some vanilla, cinnamon, and your margarine. So let's get the margarine ready. So you need a 1/4 cup of margarine. Again, if you're doing a little more noodles than the 8 ounces, you could do a little more margarine, it's fine. So I'm gonna put it in the microwave, my margarine. And once again, if you're not somebody who cares about it being parve, meaning no dairy, then you certainly can use butter instead of margarine. I will tell you, I have found a new favorite replacement for margarine. We rarely use margarine anymore, except occasionally for cooking, which is avocado butter. It's parve and it is delicious and it has more of the texture of butter than margarine does. And the only challenge is that the grocery stores are out of it right now. I'm not sure why.
And I use avocado oil all the time.
Yeah, avocado oil, same thing. I have avocado oil. But the butter, like, I will say, like on Friday night dinners, because we don't put butter out on our table for Shabbat, we put out the avocado butter for people who want it, and it's a nice replacement.
Yeah.
Okay, so melt your butter. You want it to be, let me see if I can do this. So see how there's like a little bit of chunk in there? You actually want it to really be liquidy because you want it to spread nicely throughout the noodles once they're done. So just make sure you put it in the microwave enough to really completely melt it. And by the way, this is the cleanest my counter ever is when I'm making cooking videos. I just want you to know that.
It's cucumber.
All right, so butter, margarine, I should say, completely melted. You know, margarine has like a more of a yellow thing. By the way, I'll show off my newest kitchen utensil. Anybody have one of these? It's a cover for the microwave, but it is magnetic and it goes on this.
No
You don't
grub
have
box
to worry
today?
about where it is. What?
No grub.
That's Michael asking, no grab locks today.
Ah,
Because
Hi,
of the electricity being out, I didn't buy my salmon on Friday. No grab locks for Sunday.
all right, next thing, everybody, take out your eggs. So we need 4 eggs. Again, if you feel like you're making more noodles, you can do a little more eggs. I'm gonna throw 1 extra one in since I have a little bit more noodles. So never crack your eggs right into your mixture, so just have your eggs prepped and ready to go. in a separate bowl in case you get any shells or a random bad egg. In case anybody's curious, the Bravo house goes through about 1 case of eggs a week, which is kind of crazy. And thank goodness for Restaurant Depot where we can buy them in bulk. All right, so everybody has your bowl with your eggs, your bowl with your margarine or butter, your cut up apples, your sugar ready to go, your salt, your vanilla, and your cinnamon. If you like raisins, my family does not, but if you want your raisins, whatever kind of raisins, if you want walnuts, anything else. All right, there's my noodles. So you need some kind of a strainer. You want to be able to strain out your noodles. Okay. So if you want, you can actually just use your pot to mix, but I happen to like this one bowl that I use, so I'm gonna throw everything in here. So we're going to take my noodles, right? Properly drain them, toss it into a nice big bowl, or even back into the pot that you just used. And something's making noise. Okay, so we are going to now just kind of toss everything in. So toss in your margarine or butter, should you use it. Toss in your eggs. You don't need to worry about breaking them up. They'll get broken up. Or you could break them if you want, whichever you prefer. And then you're going to add your apples to your bowl. Just a big bowl of stuff. Very, very simple. Okay, I like to do a little mixing now before we add in our spices. So mix it up, make sure your eggs get broken up. If you're not good at that, you can always break them up in advance. But, all right, so your bowl's kind of looking like this, right? Everybody sees. Ooh, I like being able to see. Okay. Once you get it really well mixed, your apple should be mixed. You shouldn't see any eggs that are whole. All right, once we've got all that, then we're gonna go to, turn the vent off, then we're going to go to our spices. So we're going to add in the seasoning, which is sugar. So it says 1/4 cup. You know if you and your family like sweet, not so sweet. I do about the 1/4 cup. It doesn't need to be too sweet. We're gonna do 1½ teaspoons of salt. So again, if you're a measure, I'm a kind of measure. All right, so I did approximately 1½. And then 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. I don't know about anybody else, but I've been going through a lot of cinnamon lately. All right. So I like to do plentiful on cinnamon. So you could also, by the way, depending what you like, you could add a little nutmeg, a little ginger. There's different spices in the same category as cinnamon that add a little different, kind of like a fall flavor almost. So we did the cinnamon. And if you like your raisins, you want to add your raisins or whatever else you've decided to put into this kugel. I'm going to add my vanilla. I tend to go a little more on the vanilla than what it says. Sophie and I are in agreement on this one. All right, so just check that you've added everything to your mixture and just mix it around. So the cinnamon should really be well spread throughout the bowl. You don't want to see clumps of cinnamon because they will cook that way. So just do a good job. That's why I like a big bowl so that you can really mix it all well together without getting too much on the counter. All right, I see everybody mixing. Rachel, we lost you. What happened?
No, I'm here. I'm taking notes. You think I can cook at the same time as you?
You're so funny. It's an easy one, Rach. You can do
It
this
takes
one.
me. I know, but everything takes me along.
All right. Well, you can do this one. And in all seriousness, if people wanted to bake instead of like one large thing, you could absolutely do 2 smaller things.
Rabbi, I do
Like
think
this.
that a glass or Pyrex dish is much
This one
better
is
to
a
bake.
glass dish, but you could use anything. It's just one of my ones that I use all the time.
I know, but for this kind of recipe, the glass Pyrex dish is better than the aluminum.
Yes. Oh yeah. I actually rarely use aluminum except for baking.
I even bought one of those, Sherry.
Oh, that's
A glass one?
2 of them, 2 glass Pyrex baking dishes.
You should
All right,
always
so
have that.
hopefully, does everybody's bowl look kind of like this?
Mm-hmm.
Sharon says yes. Carol and Jeff, yes. All right. And once you're ready, you're going to carefully dump it. Now, I'm guessing that I made more than what's going to fit in this bowl because I used the bigger bag of noodles. But we'll see.
perfect.
Oh, no, I can fit it all.
Going.
All right.
Rabbi, your recipe is a very loose kind of kugel. If with how many eggs? There were 4 eggs.
Yeah.
So if people want a more dense kugel, they just add
Yeah.
a couple more eggs.
Yes. So, and it's also if you, like I upped the amount of noodles in mine. So because of that, I added 1 egg, which keeps it the same density. So if you like it for breakfast, when I do a dairy kugel, I make it really dense and it uses like a dozen eggs. But for Rosh Hashanah, I feel like it doesn't have to be so dense. So I don't make it so dense, but yes, if you want it to be more dense, all you do is add egg. I don't do a topping for this one because again, I'm looking for it to be a side dish to something like chicken or turkey or brisket. So I don't think it needs the top, but you could sprinkle a little breadcrumbs, matzah meal. My one for Yom Kippur, when it's dairy, I crush up cornflakes or frosted flakes and put that on top. But for this, you're not
from the
looking.
Midwest.
Yes, yeah.
Mm.
But this one, so it should
Yes.
look like this. Everybody's hopefully looks like that.
Beautiful. Really beautiful.
Beautiful. And double check. I'm a big believer. You double check your recipe. Make sure you added everything. You can always dump it back into the bowl if you forgot something. So double check your recipe. You put the raisins in if you wanted, anything else. Ready to go. And then if your oven is on and preheated, which mine is, I'm gonna just put it into the oven. So put it in. Now the recipe calls for, if I could see, the recipe calls for 40 to 60 minutes. So I'm gonna bake it on the 40-minute side because I know that I'm gonna reheat it when we eat it. So that's what I'm gonna do is bake it for 40 minutes. Put my timer on. And when it's done, let it cool. By the way, helpful hint, kugels are much easier to cut when they are cold. So if you bake it, let it cool. If you're gonna freeze it, then I like to cover in saran wrap and then in aluminum foil and put it in the freezer, which is what I'll do with this one. When you take it out of the freezer the day before, once it's cool, like refrigerator temperature, cut your pieces because you will have beautiful, nicely cut pieces if you do it that way. Otherwise, you could always just scoop it out and it's a nice big scoop of kugel. It's just not a piece the way that it is when you cut it when it's cold because you'll get nice pieces when you cut when it's cold. All right, any questions?
That was
So
beautiful.
40 to 60 minutes. If you're going to eat it now because you've decided that you're going to preempt Rosh Hashanah and have kugel today, let it cook for more than 40 minutes. Let it cook for like at least 50. But if you're going to put it in the freezer, then 40 minutes is plenty. Let it cool. Never put something hot in the freezer. Let it cool completely, and then you can put it into the freezer. Good? Questions? All right. So, Rachel, it's super, super simple. You could do this. if you can bake challah, you can make a kugel. There's no question in my mind, right, everybody?
I'm the one who can't make the challah.
Sharon,
I'm gonna make it again with you next week. I better be able to
Okay.
find my yeast now.
oh yeah, good luck on that.
Rabbi, can you send out a potato kugel recipe too?
Potato kugel? Yeah, Sherry, you have a good potato kugel, don't you?
I have 3 good potato kugel recipes that I use, but they are old recipes. One
So you
calls
know what we'll do later today? Believe it or not, we're doing a dress rehearsal for Rosh Hashanah service day 1 morning. We're doing a rehearsal today with Jessica. So later today, after the rehearsal, we will we'll throw some recipes up, Sherry, and we'll put it in the weekly email with a link to some recipes on the website.
Great. Great.
Good?
yes.
All right, everybody, have a great Sunday. And just a reminder that if you haven't already signed up for High Holidays, please register. And for all those out in Facebook land, anybody is welcome. You just need to register with our community at www.macomny.org. And we will add into the notes of the Facebook video, we'll add in the recipe as well, and we'll throw it onto our YouTube channel. So I feel like I could just be a professional, cooking program person, right? So there you go, my beautiful kitchen. Sophie should be doing this, but she's barely awake and she has 2 more cakes to go. So, and actually she doesn't love to make the videos. So she likes to do her thing, so.
Well, this is getting you ready for your own reality TV show.
Yeah, there you go. That's what my next career is going to be. Reality TV show. There we go. You're going to be a therapist and I'll be a reality TV show. There you go. All right, everybody, have a great Sunday and we'll see you soon.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
everybody.